it is Rachel, and I thought I would pop in with hopefully a quick video of doing these inner borders. Now I do already have 2 videos that are live. They're actually the first 2 videos I did on this channel, where I showed how to attach these borders and ease them in for English paper piecing. So I'm not machine sewing these. There will be other videos that come out from Pink Door and maybe some other YouTubers that will show the machine sewing method, but I am doing the English paper piecing method. The papers were released after the kit was released for people that want to do the whole quilt by English paper piecing. So I am just working on the inner sashing today. I am going to do that second sashing. That video will probably be live in about a few days. Just have to get all the pieces together for that. But I thought I would show this again because my last video was pretty good, but it didn't show quite as intense of how to ease these in, and these small triangles have a lot of easing in, and I just want to show how easy it is to do that. So I already started on this triangle just to get us a little ahead. So I did one side already. This is already all eased in and stitched, and you can kind of see it's wavy. So you get little waves because I eased it in. But once these papers come out, those waves are not going to affect anything at all. So you don't have to worry about that, okay? Don't worry, the fabric will ease once we take these papers out. It's just because those papers are pulling against each other that you get a little bit of waviness there. So do not worry about that at all. Then I started on my second side, and I'm going to show you what I did. I'm just going to take all of my clips and everything off so you can see the process. So I have already stitched up this corner, and what I did is I literally just laid the 2 pieces together, lined them up good, stitched down to the center with a needle. I didn't cut my thread, I just left my thread there and then tucked my needle in just to save it, and then unclipped everything so I could get started with easing in the main body of the block. So the next step was to fold this down so that I could line up this corner. So now I'm lining up to the triangle itself on the edge here, and I just did 1 clip just to hold it in place, and there's no easing or anything. You want to line it up exactly, and you just stitch in probably about 1 inch, and that's it. And so that's the spot I'm at right now. You can see my thread is here, and I have my needle tucked away so that I can keep stitching in just a minute. But that's all you're going to do. That's step number 2 on easing in the second side. Then you're going to do, somebody's phone's ringing. Let me get that. Hold on, guys. Okay, sorry about that. So the second side, we do the same thing. So I just want to line up real good my edges, lay it down, line it up here, and I'm going to stitch in about 1 inch. And I actually use a different needle. I go with the 2 needle method here, so you can see I have 1 started here, 1 started here. That way I don't have to cut my threads, but I can start both ends at the same time. So you want to just stitch in that inch, and that's again where I'm at right now, okay? And if you could kind of, I don't know if you could see, but when I was doing this, my stitches pull apart pretty easily because I didn't tack it down. So I'm actually going to do that right now. You want to do like a second tack because there is going to be some pull on these threads a little bit as we're easing in. So you want this to be nice and sturdy and tight for yourself, okay? So just a second tack is all it takes. You don't have to go crazy, don't have to tie a knot, but now you can see when I pull it apart, those threads don't move, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I didn't tack that one down either. So once you do those 2 1 inch in, tack it down, but keep your threads whole. Don't cut your threads. You're gonna have better, oh, my thread came unknotted. Put my glasses on so I can see this. And of course I don't have my scissors here. Yes. Okay. So again, we're just going to go ahead and tack this. So I stitched about 1 inch in, I do a double tack, leave your thread whole, just tuck it off to the side. Okay, and now we have, whew, that was not a good angle for maybe put the needle down so it doesn't poke you. All right, so now you can see we have a pretty wide gap. So these small triangles probably have the widest gap of anything that you'll ease in. So the large diamonds, you'll ease in the exact same way that I'm going to show you. And like I said, I do have another video that shows the large diamond and then also how to base these papers and everything as well. But I just wanted to quickly jump in since these really have a large gap to show this one more time. So all you need to do is you're going to tack this in 3 places. So the first place you're going to tack it is right in the middle. And what you want to do is try to get an even amount on each side of the middle. So what I normally do is I'll just put my clip down. Now you can see the way I did this, this side has less than this side. We don't want that. So what I do is I just slightly open my clip and slide it, okay? And that's definitely a lot more even. I could fiddle around with it, or I probably will fiddle a little bit more, put a little more that way. I would say that's pretty darn even, okay? So you want to keep that there, and what I normally do is double secure this, so I'll also put a magnet there as well, just to make sure it really doesn't move. So we have that pretty well split up between the 2 sides, and then what you do is put another tack, so you can see again we have it pretty even. So basically I'm tacking this into 4 even quadrants, trying to spread that excess over the 4 quadrants. So we have that pretty well split, and then this one, and of course it wants to kind of roll on you, so just fiddle with it, whatever you need to do. And so again, that's pretty well split there. So we have it split the 4 ways, nothing should be moving around. And now that I have those tacked down, I'm actually going to start here and we're going to go in. But again, I'm going to put my magnet next to this clip just to make sure that I'm not pushing anything towards this way. You want this to stay nice and steady so that your easing doesn't get pushed further along. You want this all to ease in evenly along the way. Now the easiest way to get this to ease in, so if you try to stitch it like this, you know, if I were to do this, obviously there's a big gap there. So you don't want to just stitch it with your gap showing because it's not going to pull that in right. So what you do is you just curve your paper. So if you curve it towards the less gapped out part, then the gap will ease in. And so you just hold it like this as you sew, and that will stitch it for you and ease in that excess. So it takes a little finagling, takes a little getting used to, but you'll get used to it. But basically you just want to kind of hold it like this and start stitching. So we just take our, oops, oh, excess there, there we go. So we just take our little stitches just like we always would, going right across, and you just hold it with it curved, and once you get to this clip, it'll all be eased in. And like I said, this is exactly why on the other side you do have a little bit of waviness, because once I open this back up, of course we're easing in quite a bit, especially on these triangles. On the diamonds it's not really quite as much, but you do want to do this way, okay? Because if you, I think I've seen some methods where you cut the paper and make it longer for this to work. I personally would not do that method because you're changing the shape of the paper. The paper is the correct shape for you. Now, when I go to do my next border, there really should be no easing in at all because these inner borders have no pieced pieces or anything. So my next border should match up exactly. And so that's going to make that process 100 times easier. Now, have I done it? No. So that's my theory. We'll see when I do that video if that works out. Whereas if you cut the papers and make these longer, you're either going to have to ease in the next border or you're also going to have to cut the next border. And are either of those, you know, cutting the next border, not the end of the world. it's still going to work. You're going to make it work. EPP is a very, very, very flexible type of sewing, so that method will work. You'll end up with a perfectly fine quilt at the end. It's not going to ruin anything, but you know, it's just a little bit more work that you don't really need to do. So I prefer to keep my papers the same because your papers are your shape. That is the shape that you're going for. So they've already been cut to the right shape. You just have to make it work. So if you notice, like around this gap, things are getting a little tight because it is hard to ease that in. So you can do a tacking stitch at any point. So a tacking stitch is just where you stitch twice in the same exact spot. And so on those tight corners, those big, where the big gap is, I definitely would do a tacking stitch every so often. I'm going to do one. I just did one because that was a tight corner. I'm also going to do one right where I clamp down as well. So that is fine. That'll kind of hold everything in place. You don't have to do it a million times, but it does help to kind of hold everything down to do those. So make sure I get in here with this. So I'm going to show you how I keep going once I take this clip off, and then we'll do this in fast motion so that you can see the whole thing. So I'm going to take my magnet off, take my clip off, okay, and now I have the next quarter section to go. So this might not have gotten. So if you can see, I kind of have a flat here and a lot here. So you can adjust as you go. I did double tack here. So I think I'm going to take these off and readjust my clips because that was kind of felt like there was a spot where it wasn't spreading as much. So we'll do it like this, and I think I'll just maybe I'll do them side by side to hold it. I think I'll just do 2 sections now. So if they still look good and spread out, obviously you don't have to re-clip, but that middle one looked flat where the other 2 were bubbly, so that you can notice that when you do your triangle flat. You want your triangle flat, that means that's the spread. So when I had it, this middle part was more, which I guess the way I clipped it, the middle part, but it's going to ease in when I do it. So we're just trying to spread it out as evenly as possible. So whatever you think needs to happen to make that happen is what you want to do. I could have left those clips and just gone with it. It doesn't really matter, but you just want to spread it out. You don't want the whole bulk of the extra at the end here and you're going flat, 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 and then you have this huge bulk to spread out. You want to try to spread it out as evenly as possible. The other thing I could do is actually, which I may actually do, is I could come in from this side, because remember I had 2 needles, so I can come in from this side now and spread this out just like I did here, and then see what I'm left with and see if I want to split that in half. So maybe I'll do that just to keep things more even. But you know, you just go with the flow, see what works for you, what needs to be eased in. That's what you want to do. But like I said, the biggest thing is when you're getting rid of this bulk is to curve your paper and then stitch it. And then like I said, every so often, so maybe here where the big bulk is, I'll do a double stitch just to make sure my stitches are nice and tight and staying in place. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up in fast motion and then show you the completed piece. All right, so I am done stitching. I would just cut these 2 threads. I don't have my scissors here, so cut the threads. Obviously, you don't want to leave your needles forever, but when I get my scissors, I'll cut those. But just to show you, poked myself, what it looks like all opened up. So again, it is wrinkly right now, but when these papers come out, it'll ease right down. I'm not going to take the papers out now because I don't want to take them out of this edge, and that's the majority. I mean, I can take this top triangle out, but you're probably not going to see too much of a difference. And they're pretty easy to take out. Just lift up the edges and slide it right out. So you can already see that that one eased in better, but because this big one is still in there, it's gonna still show that little bit of but that is perfectly fine. This is now the right shape, and so when these come out, this will all stitch up with the larger border perfectly. And yeah, so that's it. It's simple as that. It is a little bit of work to get it done, but once you have the method down, it's super easy. Won't be any issues whatsoever. So just to show you a couple of the other pieces. So this is a side piece. I did take out most of the edging. You want to leave in the papers that are going to touch the edge, even if they only touch with just a corner. Like this one I left in, even though it looks like it's completely surrounded, but it does touch the corner, so it just stabilizes that edge better. So you just want to make sure you leave those in as you get these edges on. So that's a side piece, and then this is a whole diamond. And you can see this one, I was able to take all the papers out because it's completely surrounded by that edging. And you can see this was just as wavy as this was at one point. And once those papers came out, you can't even tell. I'm going to starch it before I finish everything, but you can't see any waving. It all just eases right in, and it'll do even more so once these edge papers come out. So it'll be perfectly fine. Don't worry about it whatsoever. So I just wanted to show you a couple of those. So yeah, so that's the basics of getting this first sashing in. I absolutely 100% will do a video for that second sashing. I just have to set everything up so that I can get that out and how it's done, kind of teach myself first, and should be fairly straightforward. I have enough pieces done that I can definitely show that. So within the next week, be on the lookout for that video for the second sashing done, English paper piecing style. Again, I will not be doing any videos for machine sewing. I really don't machine sew anymore, so I'm not going to be doing that with this quilt. So if you are machine sewing, the directions in the book are excellent. If you follow them exactly, they're very good. And I know Pink Door is going to put out a video, and there may be other YouTubers who also put out videos, so be on the lookout for that. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so, as I do put out these videos pretty sporadically, and so YouTube will alert you when a new video comes out if you subscribe. So thank you, everybody. Hopefully this video was of some help to you, and if you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. If this video helped you, you can like the video, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye, everybody.